We're in session in two cases. First case is cause number 329-226. Second case is cause number 329-700. Both cases are styled the state of Texas versus Corey Thomas. Is that your name, Corey Thomas?
Yes, sir.
Also Corey Eugene
Yes, sir.
Thomas? Mr. Thomas, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Thomas, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Thomas, you may put your hand down. How are you doing, Mr. Thomas?
I'm doing all right.
That's good. Mr. Thomas, you're here represented by your attorney, Mr. John West. Mr. West, how are you doing?
Good, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. West, do you waive a record in Mr. Thomas's cases?
We do, Your Honor.
Mr. Thomas, in cause number 329-226, I have before me an information that alleges that on or about November 10th of 2020, while you're in Jefferson County, Texas, operating a motor vehicle in a public place, that you committed the Class A misdemeanor offense of driving while intoxicated with an alcohol concentration level of 0.15 or more. Mr. Thomas, do you understand what you've been charged with?
Yes, sir.
And to this charge, Mr. Thomas, how do you plead guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
Guilty.
Now, you're pleading guilty freely and voluntarily,
I'm guilty.
and are you pleading guilty because you're guilty?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, Mr. Oh, you have to check off the it's Class A.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Just a Class A. Yeah, you don't worry about the DWI because the one they have on the DWI second is a B. I mean, you know, second they had an A, but it's different. This is not a second. So you just do the statute is just Class A misdemeanor. That's how the legislatures wrote it.
Okay, so we don't check the box for the DWI one?
No, Class A misdemeanor.
Okay.
That's what it is. Okay, now, Mr. Thomas, I have before me a document that is titled the misdemeanor plea admonishment. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
Now, this is a Class A misdemeanor, and the range of punishment for a Class A misdemeanor is confinement in jail for a term not to exceed 1 year, a fine not to exceed $4,000, or both such fine and confinement. Do you understand the range of punishment?
Yes, sir.
Now, on page 2 of this document, there are a set of initials on a line next to a box that's checked guilty.
Yes, sir.
Is that your signature?
Yes, sir.
No, excuse me. Are these your initials? It's your
Yes,
initials.
sir.
And on page 3 of the same document, there's a signature above the line that's titled defendant. Is that your signature?
Yes, sir.
On the next document, which is titled trial court certification of defendant's right of appeal, do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
Is that your signature above the line that's titled defendant?
Yes, sir.
There are 2 boxes that's checked at the top of this document. The first box states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
The second box states that you're waiving your right to an appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Thomas, I also have before me a document that is titled the discovery certification. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
Is this your signature above the line that's titled defendant?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Thomas, prior to signing and initialing these documents, did your attorney go over these documents with you?
Yes, sir.
And did you read and understand everything in these documents?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
State, I have before me State's Exhibit number 1. State, you like to offer State's 1?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objections?
No objection.
No objection. State's Exhibit number 1 will be admitted. Mr. West, you advised and counsel Mr. Thomas in this case. Is there any evidence that he is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Thomas, your attorney, Mr. West has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation?
Yes, sir.
Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Thomas, I will accept your plea of guilty. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea of guilty and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what is that agreement?
The agreement is for 180 days probated over 15 months, a $1,000 fine, 50 hours community service, DWI education, drug and alcohol assessment and interlock device. And that is to run concurrent with cause number 329700.
Okay. Mr. Thomas, the state is offering let you serve 180 days in Jefferson County Jail. However, you would not have to serve any time in the Jefferson County Jail because you'll be placed on probation for 15 months. During the 15-month probationary period, you'll be required to pay a fine of $1,000 plus court costs of $467, which comes to a total of fine and court costs of $1,467. You'll also be required to pay a probation fee of $60 each month, a urinalysis fee of $15 each month, and you'll be required to pay the court-appointed attorney's fees of $250. You'll be required to pay the Jefferson County DWI education class and initial evaluation fee of $125 on the day of the plea. Should a further evaluation be needed, you'll be required to pay an additional $50. Your total monthly installments that you will be required to pay while you're on probation is $200 per month. Mr. Thomas, will you be able to pay the $200 per month?
Yes, sir. I'm working.
Okay, and you'll also be required to perform 50 hours of community service. You'll be required to attend and complete a DWI class, and you'll be required to have a drug and alcohol assessment, and you'll be required to install the DWI interlock device on any vehicle that you own and operate. You would have to adhere to the other standard terms and conditions of this probation. In this case, we'll run concurrent with cause number 329700. Mr. Thomas, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
And do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Yes, sir. It's fair.
And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Thomas, I'll follow the plea bargaining agreement that you have entered into with the state. Now, Mr. Thomas, we will move on to your next case. And your next case, Mr. Thomas, is cause number 329700. And in this case, Mr. Thomas, I have before me an information that alleges that on or about February 28th of 2021, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed the Class A misdemeanor offense of evading arrest detention. Mr. Thomas, do you understand what you've been charged with?
Yes, sir.
And to this charge, Mr. Thomas, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no
Guilty.
contest? Now, are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
And are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
I'm pleading guilty because I'm guilty.
Okay, now, Mr. Thomas, I have before me a document that is titled Misdemeanor Plea Admonishments. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And on page 2 of this same document, are these your initials above the line that's titled,
Yes, sir.
guilty?
Yes, sir.
And on the next document, there's the same document with the next page, there's a signature above the line that's titled defendant. Is that your signature?
Yes, sir.
And on the next document, which is titled trial court certification, defendant's right of appeal, do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
Do you have that discovery certification again? And is this your signature above the line that's titled defendant?
Yes, sir.
There are 2 boxes that's checked at the top of this document. The first box states that this is a plea bargaining case and you have no right of appeal. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And the second box, well, do you understand that?
Mhm.
And the second box states that you're waiving your right to appeal, which means you're giving up your right to appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
And earlier you acknowledged that you recognize this document, the discovery certification, and that is your signature on the line that's titled
Yes,
defendant.
sir.
Now, Mr. Thomas, prior to signing initially these documents, did your attorney go over these documents with you?
Yes, sir.
And did you read and understand everything in these documents?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
state I have before me states one. Do you like to offer states one?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objections?
No objection.
No objection. States exhibit number one will be admitted. Mr. West, you've been advising counsel, Mr. Thomas, in this case as well. Is there any evidence that he's currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
No, Your Honor.
And Mr. Thomas, your attorney, Mr. West, has advising counsel, you're satisfied with his representation in this case?
Yes, sir.
Has he provided fully effective and competent legal representation?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Thomas, I will accept your plea of guilty. I will find that you are mentally incompetent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea of guilty and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
Yes, Your Honor.
What is that agreement?
The agreement is for 180 days probated over 15 months, no fine, 80 hours community service. And that is to run concurrent with cause number 329226.
Okay, Mr. Thomas. The state is offering that you serve 180 days in Jefferson County Jail. However, you're not serving any time in Jefferson County Jail in this case because you've been placed on probation for 15 months. During the 15-month probationary period, you will not be required to pay a fine. However, you will be required to pay court costs of $302. You will not be required to pay a probation fee in this case because you're paying it in the other case.
Yes, sir.
And the urinalysis fee, you'll be required to pay a $15 urinalysis fee, and you'll be required to pay court-appointed attorney's fees of $50 in this case. Now, your total monthly installments that you would have to pay in this case is $40 per month. Will you be able to pay the $40 per month?
Yes, sir.
You also be required to perform 80 hours of community service. And you will also be required to adhere to the other standard terms and conditions of this probation. And this probation will also run concurrent with cause number 329226. Mr. Thomas, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
Do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Yes, sir.
And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Thomas, I'll follow the plea bargaining agreement that you have entered into with the state. Mr. Thomas, please stand on the X next, right there next to your attorney. You're gonna follow the directions of our clerk right here. Once you finish following her directions, you'll be free to go. Now, Mr. Thomas, please be safe and have a blessed day.
You too, sir.
Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Thomas, can I go ahead and get your right thumbprint on that blue leg, please? All right, thank you. You can move your thumb. All right, now, Mr. Thomas, I'm gonna need your signature on the signature pad that's located in front of you. You won't be able to see it, but I will. And now, Mr. West. Your tape. And now, Mr. Thomas, raise your right hand for me. Do you swear that you've never before been given deferred adjudication or regular probation for felony or misdemeanor in this or any other state? And you have no other pending charges that you're aware of?
No.
All right, so you can go ahead and put down your name. Okay, so you're just gonna report to the address that's located on this front page as soon as you leave here.
We're in session in cause number 323788. Case is styled the state of Texas versus Marquise T. O'Neill. Mr. O'Neill, you could take your mic off of mute. Mr. O'Neill, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for asking. Mr. O'Neill, you're represented here by your attorney, Mr. Todd LeBlanc. Mr. LeBlanc, how are you doing?
Good, Judge. Thanks for asking.
Mr. LeBlanc, do you have an announcement that you would like to make in Mr. O'Neill's case?
Judge, we originally thought that we would be able to take care of this case on this date. However, my client lives out of town. I think he said next week he'll be moving back into the area. If we
Okay,
could get one more short reset, I think we'll dispose of the case.
reset. Okay, it's gonna be reset to November 22nd of 2021. Mr. O'Neill, your attorney will be sent a copy of your reset date of November 22nd of 2021. Stay in contact with your attorney and your bondsman. And Mr. O'Neill, you're free to go. Stay safe and have a blessed day.
You too.
And Mr. LeBlanc, your reset will be sent to you. Again, you stay safe and have a blessed day. And you
You too,
excuse.
Judge. Thanks.
Let's see if you got a affidavit of indigence. Or magistrate's warning, anything that have. Yep, magistrate's warning, okay. We're in session in clause number 330316. Case is styled the state of Texas versus An Nak Hong. We have Mr. Hong present, and Mr. Hong is present. We also have present Mr. Sunny Nguyen, who will be interpreter or translating for us this morning. Mr. Nguyen, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Nguyen, do you swear or affirm to interpret Vietnamese to English and English to Vietnamese. So help you God?
Yes, I do.
You may put your hand down, Mr.
Thank
Nguyen.
you.
And we also have present Mr. John West, who is standing in for Mr. Scott Rennick. Mr. Scott Rennick is Mr. Hong's attorney. Is that correct, Mr.
Yes,
West?
Your Honor. Yes, that's right.
Mr. West, how are you doing?
Doing good, Your Honor.
Now, Mr. West, do you waive a record in Mr. Hong's case?
We do, Your Honor.
Now, Mr. Hong, you are represented by Mr. Scott Rennick. Is it all right for Mr. West to stand in for Mr. Scott Rennick?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Hong, how are you doing?
Yes.
You doing good? Okay. Now, Mr. Hong, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Hong, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Tất cả những cái gì mình khai về đảng để người ta nhớ đó, do đó mình tìm kiếm chúc phúc cho mình.
Yes.
Okay, you may put your hand down. Mr. Hong, I have before me an information.
Trước mặt mình cũng mang cũng có tất cả những cái tội hiểu không?
Yes.
And in this information, it alleges that on or about May 29th of 2021, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, operating a motor vehicle, that you committed the Class A misdemeanor of driving while intoxicated with an alcohol concentration level of 0.15 or more.
Tháng 5 năm 2021 cho được về chất sinh cao thì lái xe dùng cái điều lái xe nên quá lần mình có thể
Yes.
Do you understand what you've been charged with?
mình hiểu là mình bị bắt cái tội đúng có hiểu không?
Yes.
And to this charge, how do you plead? Not guilty, guilty, or no contest?
Bây giờ mình có ba cái công nhận tội dân tộc và nhân tố
No contest.
Okay. Are you pleading no contest freely and voluntarily?
Thế là bây giờ mình nhận tội mình cảm thấy thoải mái không ai ép không ai đẩy mình đúng không? Đồng ý vậy không?
Yes.
And are you pleading no contest because you do not wish to fight or contest the charges?
Khi mình nhận tội tức là no contest mình không cần ai chứng tới cái gì của mình tôi với mình phải muốn.
Yes.
Mr. Hong, I have before me a document that is titled misdemeanor plea admonishment. Do you recognize this document?
Ông nói cái này mình
Yes.
Now, in this document, this bottom paragraph is titled citizenship. I will read this to you. And it reads, if you're not a US citizen, a plea of guilty or nola contendere may result in your deportation,
vì mình không có US citizen, mình người ta Vietnamese đó, thì khi mình bị chuyện này thì có thể là cả mai mốt mình bị họ tống mình là cũng bị hiểu không?
Yes.
Exclusion from admission to the country or denial of naturalization under federal law.
Và mai mốt mình nhập tịch thì có thể không cho mình nhập tịch bởi vì đó là cái ba có hiểu không?
Yes.
Do you understand?
Mình có hiểu cái chuyện như vậy.
Yes, I understand.
Okay, I'm gonna need to have him to initial alongside of the paragraph saying he understands citizenship. Okay. Now, Mr. Hong, did your attorney and the translator go over this paragraph with you?
Ông tránh nhà ông hỏi mình và ông luật sư này với anh với lại vài ba
Yes.
And they went over this paragraph with you in Vietnamese, is that correct?
và tất cả những cái lời như vậy là để cái chuyện như vậy đúng không? Hiểu không?
Yes.
And you understood what they went over?
Và mình rất là hiểu.
Yeah.
Are you a US citizen?
Mình có kinh nghiệm. No.
Okay, that's not one of the countries on here. Okay. Now, Mr. Hong, on page 2 of State's Exhibit number 1, there's a set of initials on a line next to a box that's checked nolla contendere, which means no contest. Did you place your initials on this document?
Mình có chữ ký khi mình có chữ ký mình ký là
Yes, I did.
And on page 3 of this document, there's a signature above the line that's titled defendant. Is this your signature?
và có những chữ ký ở kia trên cái chữ ký là chữ ký là
Yes, I did.
And on the next document, which is the trial court certification of defendant's right of appeal, do you recognize this document?
và cái giấy nó ngoài kia mình coi rồi đúng không?
Yes.
Is this your signature above the line that's titled defendant?
Nhưng mà bên tay trái này cái chữ ký ở trên ký mình không là ký đúng không?
Yes.
There are two boxes that are checked at the top of this document. The first box states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that?
Và ở trên ô xéo này là mình nhận tội có quyền trở lại đây để cứu lại được không?
Yes.
And the second box states that you are waiving your right to appeal, which means you're giving up your right to an appeal. Do you understand that?
Và cái hộp xe cạnh cái hộp thứ hai là mình dưới kế tiếp đấy, tức là mình không có quyền nghe và mình cứu lại được.
Yes.
Mr. Hong, I also have before me a document that is titled Discovery Certification. Do you recognize this document?
Cái giấy này ký này tất cả giấy tờ sẽ nằm trong đó đúng hết đúng không?
Yes.
And is this your signature above the line that's titled defendant?
Chữ ký rồi mình ký đấy đúng chữ ký rồi đó.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Hong, before you signed and initialed these documents that I've just mentioned, did Mr. Sunnywind, the translator, go over all of these documents with you in Vietnamese?
Và tất cả những cái giấy mà mình cầm trong cái đó, cái tờ giấy này mình lúc nãy đã dịch hiểu tất cả các chuyện hết rồi.
Yes.
And did you understand everything that he went over?
Như vậy là mình có hiểu tất cả những cái đó là mình coi lại đúng không?
Yes.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Và tất cả những cái giấy đó là đúng và thật hết đúng không?
Yes.
State, I have before me State's Exhibit number 1, the misdemeanor plea admonishments. State, you like to also offer State's Exhibit number 2 to probable cause affidavit?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objections, Mr. West?
No objection.
No objection, states exhibits 1 and 2 are admitted. Mr. West, you have advised and counseled Mr. Hong. Is there any evidence that he is mentally incompetent to stand trial?
Your Honor, actually I have not been able to do that because I'm just standing in this morning. I just met him this morning. However, I did speak with Mr. Rennick quite a bit this morning about the case, and he indicated that he is confident and there's no issues.
Okay, Mr. Nguyen, you have translated on behalf of Mr. West to Mr. Hong.
Ông này ông nói là ông này thắc mắc gì nữa không? Giúp được chuyện
Yes,
Now, is there any evidence that Mr. Hong indicated to you that he is mentally incompetent? That he have any mental problems?
mình không có trả hết mình cứ trả cái đó.
yes,
Okay, so he doesn't have any mental problems, is that correct?
it didn't happen.
Okay,
Yes, correct.
all right. Now, Mr. Hong, your attorney, Mr. Rennick, has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation?
Mình muốn như một sự tất cả mọi chuyện vui vì cái này
Yes,
Okay, now, are you satisfied with the representation of Mr. West as well?
như vậy là ông này đi trên một sự kiện hai người làm mình vui vẻ bất kể cái này đúng không?
yes,
Okay. Mr. Hong, I will accept your plea of no contest.
Ông sẽ không rất ông accept ông chấp nhận tất cả những cái điều của ông.
yes,
I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial.
Mình như là những cái điều gì đã đồng ý.
yes,
I will also find that your pleas and waivers were freely and voluntarily given.
Và ông phạt này giống như là những cái gì đã đồng ý thì đã hết giống như đã hết đúng không?
yes,
And I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
Và tất cả những yếu tố mà phù hợp.
yes.
State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
Yes, Your Honor.
What is that agreement?
It's a 20 days county jail. To begin today.
Okay. Mr. Hong, the state is offering that you serve 20 days in the Jefferson County Jail, and you'll be given credit for any time that you are entitled to get by law.
Ông nhớ như ông về nói chuyện với nhau bây giờ trong 20 ngày tù 20 days thì đó thì gieo ở trong sự cao thì đó là những cái
Yes,
The court cost in this case is $407. Will you be able to pay the $407 before you get out of jail?
tòa họ cái bảo là mình phải đóng 400 rồi để bài đâu mình
I have no money.
Okay. Now, I just need to get a little information from you. Mr. Hong, do you have a job? Excellent.
ông tòa hỏi mình có
No, sir.
Okay, so he has no income. Does he receive any type of benefits from the government?
mình có
No, yeah, no Medicaid? No,
My wife and the children have a Medicaid.
but he doesn't.
Như vậy là mình không có cái gì cả, hay không có gì.
I don't have it.
Okay, what about SNAP, which is food stamps?
Mình có food stamp hay có welfare không có welfare.
No, sir.
Okay, does he live in public housing? Like a,
Con mình ở nhà con thích ở nhà.
I stay with my children. I didn't.
oh, you live with family? Okay. Now, do you have any type of, so he stayed with his children? Does he have to pay any rent or not?
Mình con mình thì mình có tiền mới con mình con
I have my children to pay for the bill for like the light bill, gas bill, and water bill.
Okay. Where is he getting the income from?
mình có đi làm hay là chỉ có phải là đôi lúc đi giúp xuống dưới bến giúp anh làm vậy thôi anh cho tiền.
My brother and he have a swimming boat, so sometimes he call me, come to the dock, have him clean the boat. So he gave me a little bit of money.
Okay. How much does he give you each month? $800. 800? So that's 800 a month. Okay, how much is he paying on the utility bills each month? And the lights, gas, and the water?
The gas, water, các thứ tiền tiền mấy tháng phải lấy ra điện 850, cả tiền nước 60 không xây.
Light bill 150, water bill 60. In that house doesn't have a gas.
Okay, it's 210. Okay. Okay. Does he have his children, or does he have any children between the ages of 0, between the, that's younger than 18?
Có đứa con rồi.
18 or younger?
I have one child, 8 years old.
Oh, okay, he's the one that's 8, okay. And does he have to pay any childcare expenses?
Mình có phải trả tiền tất cả mấy bill.
No, sir.
Okay, what about food? How much you spend a month?
Đồ ăn thì tháng đồ ăn thì con nó đi làm nó mua đồ ăn thôi. Có gì ăn đấy.
My children try to help me for the food.
Okay, but now out of the other money, he said he make about, say, 800 a month. He's using 210 for utilities. What does he do with the rest of the money?
Cái tiền còn lại mình làm gì để mua về? Đã trả tiền bảo xe, xe. Đôi lúc mình cũng phụ con đi, chứ mà lúc nào cũng
Amount of the money I got left and I paid for car insurance and
Oh.
gas.
Okay, so the rest of it go on car insurance and gas?
Yes, sir.
So, that's 590. Okay. Yeah, 590. Okay. Mr. Hong, tell Mr. Hong, we're gonna find that he is indigent. And what that means is he will not be required to pay the court costs of $407 in this case.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and that's pursuant to the, well, it's the Texas Code of Criminal Procedure, okay? Now, Mr. Hong, I'm gonna repeat the state's offer. The state is offering that you serve 20 days in the Jefferson County Jail, and you'll be given credit. Well, you'll be given credit for any time that you are entitled to get by law.
Ông nói là cái này
Yes.
And you will not be required to pay the court cost of $407 because the court has found that you are indigent.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Hong, do you understand the state's offer?
mình có nghe tất cả những cái gì này.
Yes.
And do you think that the state's offer is fair and just?
Như vậy mình cảm thấy
Yes.
And do you accept the state's offer?
đồng ý như vậy là đồng ý là
Yes.
Okay, I'll follow the plea bargain that you have entered into with the state. Now, Mr. Hong, please follow the bailiff. This will conclude your case, and you have a blessed day. Oh. All right, you stand on the X and follow the directions of our court clerk. Yeah, you're gonna have to help me.
Can I go ahead and get your right thumbprint on that blue light in front of you? Thank you. You can remove it.
Procedure.
All right. So, just, make sure that they-
Mr. West, is this your last case?
Yeah, Your Honor, that's all I had to.
Okay.
I technically had one case today. I showed up and kept you two.
Okay. You're free to go and you have a blessed day.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And Mr.
Thank you, Judge.
Mr. Nguyen, you're free to go.
Yeah, you have a nice day.
You have a, oh,
Outside and ready.
yeah. I was trying to.